We have a tendency to grind just for the sake of not feeling shit about being productive. And in doing so, we're subconsciously reinforcing and perpetuating this idea that your self-worth is tied to what you do and what you produce, as in your inputs and your outputs. And so your self-worth is now dependent on external factors rather than being something that you already carry and that you can return to at any time. And so now you can't give yourself permission to rest and simply be if you haven't first been productive. Existence itself becomes something that you must earn and justify. Now, this isn't to say just sit on your ass and bum around. Nah. But instead of being productive to feed your ego's need for external proof of your self-worth, be productive with purpose. Is to move from giving in order to fill your cup to move to give from a cup that's already overflowing. And when you begin to act from this paradigm of abundance, there's a shift in the quality and the depth of the work that you do, but also in the state in which the work is actually undertaken. You're no longer dragging yourself to the day, you're flowing and moving with it. The thing is, a lot of the time when you're giving in order to fill your cup, the outputs don't even match, let alone exceed the inputs. As in, the effort that you're actually putting in is way more than the output that you're getting out of that effort. Now, this doesn't mean obsess over the outcome. You need to stay detached and be process focused rather than outcome focused. But if you're always giving but never receiving, it means something's off. Because the universe, like everything, I guess the universe is everything, flows. And giving and receiving is part of that flow. And so if the energy is only going one way, it means there's a disruption in the natural balance. There's a block in the system. That block could be internal, like we've been talking about. It could be, for example, unworthiness, or it could be external. For example, always being the one that others depend on and take from. But technically speaking, even the external blocks are just a delayed physical manifestation of the internal blocks. So the internal blocks are the root. And you might see it, as some sort of noble act to always give and never receive anything. But keep in mind that a blocked receiver can't stay a generous giver for long. Hope that sunk in. So let's keep it moving. So ask yourself, what matters to you? What are you naturally drawn to? What doesn't feel like work? What would you still do even if no one ever saw, even if there was never a reward for it? What feels aligned that you flow with, and what feels like a space filler that you have to drag yourself through? Do the inner work, take the time and space to work through these kind of questions, and then prioritize whatever is aligned for you. When I say prioritize, it doesn't mean just add it to your to-do list. Make it the priority that you get done first, before the distractions, before the obligations. Let it lead. Everything else follows. Because if you're anything like me or most other people, you're not consistently finishing every single thing on your checklist. So if it's not a priority, chances are it'll just be another thing that you keep meaning to do but never actually get to. If you yourself don't prioritize the things that are aligned for you, the things that light you up, that feel natural, that you're present during and just flow with, then you aren't living in alignment. And if you yourself don't move in alignment, the world ain't gonna move for you either. Because life doesn't move for you, it moves from you. The world is just a delayed reflection of your sustained inner state. Now, it also helps to set time limits for the tasks that you have and then actually stop when you hit those time limits. Reason being, for example, if you give yourself the whole day to complete a task, it'll take you the whole day or longer, compared to if you give yourself 4 hours to get that exact same task done. You may very well be able to get it done in those 4 hours. And even if it does take you longer, it'll still probably be less time compared to if you gave yourself the whole day. Good example of this, think back to when you were in school or uni and you had an assignment that was given to you a month or two beforehand. Now, unless you're a fucking nerd, chances are you left that assignment to the last minute and still got it done. Now, it may not have been perfect, but it's proof that the standards and the limits that we mentally place are the ones that we adhere to. It's kind of like that saying, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land among the stars. I remember my year 6 teacher, Trish. She said that at our primary school graduation, and that just stuck with me forever. Shout out Trish. She was a G. But technically, actually, that saying's wrong, because the stars are further out than the moon, but you get the point. Now, having said all that, it's not every task requires a time limit. Especially when you're in alignment, you're going to drop into these flow states when you're fully present and just fully connected to the process. You don't need to set a timer then. Just follow the energy. Now, the difference here, for obligatory tasks, structure and timing definitely helps. But for aligned tasks, I don't know if task is even the right word, but for lack of a better one, for aligned tasks like, passion projects or creative work, it can still be useful to have these set boundaries just so you don't get caught in the loop of constantly perfecting but never actually finishing. But if you do find yourself in a genuine state of flow, when the work stops feeling like work and it's just pure presence, when it's not coming from you, it's coming through you, ride that flow. Pause. No diddy. But ride it. Now, in some cases, being productive for the sake of being productive can also be an avoidance mechanism. To avoid the stillness, the discomfort, whatever needs to grow, to heal, to be seen. And as long as you continue to avoid it, you're just going to keep repeating the same loops, the same cycles over and over and over and over again, till one, you decide to meet whatever it is that you're avoiding yourself, or two, life forces you to confront it head on. And I'm telling you from first-hand experience, man, the way that life checks your ego, it's a lot more compared if you just check it yourself. Just rip that band-aid off, man. That slow peel hurts a lot more. And that's how life likes to pull that shit off. So just rip that band-aid off. Now, in the beginning, especially when you've been in this paradigm of hustling and grinding for so long, it could also help to just schedule time to simply be, and that's it, just to be. And I've been experimenting with it as well, where once a week I'll set literally just 3 hours where not my goal, but where all I'm gonna do is just be. Although I have been lacking the last couple of weeks because I've just been all over the place, but it's just 3 hours a week where the only rules are I can't plan anything. I have to go with the flow. It can't be work, and it can't involve anyone else. And it might end up being something as simple as just sitting in the sun. taking yourself out for a coffee or just going on a bike ride with no destination. That's just some of the shit that I've gotten done during these little sessions, these solo dates, if you will. It's just space, to exist. And what it does, this activity, it helps reprogram your subconscious belief, your programming that you need to earn the right to be. This old programming that outsources your self-worth externally to something fleeting. But the nature of life is that everything external is fleeting. It's cyclical, it's temporary. So give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to simply be. Stay blessed. Love.